Yo, what's going on, guys? Alright, so in this tutorial today, we are going to be we're going to be adding our darker areas on our image to make it look three-dimensional. So what this process of rendering is also known as is modeling. Alright, so we've put in our block colors. It looks very flat. It looks cool. You do get some comics that have got this look, but this isn't the look that we're going to be going for our final piece. So the key thing that I want us to be thinking about when we're rendering from this point on is the different textures that each material creates. So when I say material, I don't just mean as in clothing. Also, I mean material as in the face, the skin on her face, the lips. The lips will be obviously more shiny, then more reflective than skin. And what we'll do is we'll make the headscarf, her hijab, a different material from her top. Right, so we'll make the top less reflective than we will the headscarf. Alright, so let's begin. So using the lasso tool, which is this tool up here, so you see I'm circling this tool here, the lasso tool. I use that to select out the areas. Alright, so similar to what I did I think in the tutorial where I selected the colors. As you guys can see, I've already got the layer set up with the dark on them. That's because I'm making this video retrospectively, which means that I'm doing it after I had actually colored it, because I forgot to do the dark layer recording, but well, I'm doing it now, so please don't cry. Alright, okay, so let's create a new layer. So I'm on the face layer now, which if I were to click off that, you'll see her face just went transparent. Quite scary. Alright, so let's create a new layer. We can rename that face dark. So let's get rid of that. I'm going to call it face 2 because for some reason it never, when I type dark, it never seems to accept that I typed dark. Alright, so on this layer we're going to select out the areas which we want to be darker. So remember, using our light source, so if we imagine that our light source is say this area here, our inker, which is me, has already given us a good indication of where the light is being cast from, because we've got this strong shadow falling on the right hand side of the face, so we know that the left hand side is going to be the lighter side. However, we've still got contours of the face which will cast shadows, just not strongly. Now as you guys can see, let's make one here on the forehead. So that's made that selection. Now holding down the Alt key, as you guys can see, you get that little plus which allows me to add to that selection. So as I said, there's no shame and there's nothing wrong with using a reference image. If you guys aren't sure of how lighting falls on a face, then observe from nature. You know, the more you look at things, the more you look at real photographs and real people, then the better you'll get at kind of making good estimations at where light would fall, and like where light and shadows will fall and be cast on a face. Alright, so yeah, that's a massive tip that I give. Observe. I remember when I used to take public transport a lot, I used to sit down and draw people's portraits when I was on the underground, just sketching. But be careful, because you can look like quite a weirdo, and you don't want to, get a court case on your way to work, on your way to college, whatever it is. It's not the way forward. Alright, so I'm going to make a very rough selection of where these shadows will fall, because like I said, I want to cover a couple of things in this tutorial, especially in regards to creating different types of textures. So now I've got this selection made, so let's zoom in a little bit to the face. Alright, now as I said, I believe in a previous tutorial, we don't want the colors to look muddy, so let's make this selection. So we've selected that color. Let's go to our brush tool. Let's make that brush a lot smaller, bigger than that. Alright, so we have this color. It's a beautiful golden brown color. Now we can just bring it down to get a darker variation of that color, which some people do. There is there isn't anything technically wrong with that. But I always try and mix a new color to create a darker variation, just to kind of save it from looking very, very muddy, so to speak. Alright, so I'm gonna go with this, maybe a little bit darker. Alright, let's bring our opacity. So when you guys are airbrushing like a photograph of someone, I made a video tutorial on this, but guys that attend classes will know that when we've airbrushed people's photographs, and we do it usually like around between 5 and 10%, so it's a gradual change. I tend to airbrush images of faces when I'm trying to render skin semi-realistically in a very similar way. Alright, so just with my Wacom drawing tablet, and I'm just going over that. Now of course you're going to say, well, it doesn't look like anything's happening, nothing's happening. When you first start out, then yeah, your eyes haven't adjusted to it yet. You can't see the very gradual change, and it's very easy to overdo it. That's cool, don't worry, it is changing. You will eventually realize it, and you will eventually be able to just kind of pick out when it is starting to change. Those gradual changes are what you're looking for. Alright, so now so like this isn't as dark as it's gonna get, but if I just deselect that, so select deselect, then you guys can see it's got a very solid outline of where those shadows are being cast. Now there's nothing wrong with that if that's the style that you're going for. A lot of anime, back in my day we used to call them mangas. Yeah, the cartoons that you watch, we used to call them mangas for you little anime heads out there. Dragon Ball Z, these kind of things, they use very solid outlines for the areas of shading. But I'm gonna go for a more realistic type feel to mine. So again, keeping that hardness at 0%. Then I'm gonna go over these areas. Now there are different ways of doing this. Right, another way, I'll show you guys in a second. So just gradually airbrushing to build up that layer. You could also use your blur tool. Another way which I tend to do is I'll go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Now when you guys are starting out, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it this way, because it's better for you guys to learn how to actually blend, using your eye, and just doing it gradually like that. But if you guys are behind on your project, which I know some of you guys are, and you just want to get that effect done very quickly, and as you guys know, in the industry it is all about doing things as quickly as possible, then I would definitely recommend using your blur tool. Just being aware that you don't want it to look too soft and too airbrushed. You want to still go into it and rework it and keep working on it until it looks quite believable. Also, we need to be changing the shape of our brush, right? So at certain points, if we want a more pointed shadow, then we're going to change the shape of our brush to, again, remember this is the modeling stage, so if we want to like model the nose or the shape of the nose, we may change the shape or the angle of our brush head, just to adjust that. Now I've just been flicking onto that, which is just a button on my Wacom pen. However, if you guys want to do that, then you can hit the F5 key, which allows you to change the brush dynamics, or you can select this little icon here. Sorry that I can't zoom in. Thanks for the tip from my ex-student, Mr. Deontay Riley, about zooming in. I'll work out exactly how to do that and then get back to you. But yeah, F5 will get you guys that menu. If you guys get yourselves a good Wacom drawing tablet, I recommend the Intuos. Cintiq looks crazy, but that is crazy money as well. But the Bamboo and whatever work just as great. But I'm using the Intuos, I think Intuos 4, so it's a little bit outdated, but hey, gets the job done. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is just building up these layers. So like I said, thinking about textures, we want to keep this one relatively soft. Now if I quickly click off of that and click onto the one that I done earlier, here is one I prepared earlier, then you guys can see that I've really worked into it a lot, made the tone a lot darker, a lot stronger than this rather red tone. Even if I were to throw that on top, then it still looks kind of nice, it warms it up a bit. So I may even still keep that underlay because it warms it up nicely. Alright, so that would be the face. So like I said, you don't want to over render, well I didn't say that, but you don't want to over render any element of it. What we do want to try and emphasize the reflectiveness of the material. So now let's go on to the headscarf. So like I said, we want the headscarf to be quite reflective material. If you guys have ever seen hijabs, you get some really beautiful examples, some very reflective, nice material. So let's find our headscarf layer, which is this layer. Alright, so as I said, this video is done kind of a back to the future kind of way. So I have already rendered the scarf, the shadows on the scarf. So let's create a new layer. So scarf 2. Alright, so again using the lasso tool, see my feather radius is set to 1 up here. I think I explained the feather radius in a previous tutorial. Alright, so because this is quite a reflective material, the shadows being cast are going to be a lot stronger, so their edges are going to be a lot more solid. So as when we were rendering the face, we didn't really want those solid unblurred edges. With the more reflective of the materials, we do want that. Alright, so I've got my selection there. Obviously there will be more of a selection made. Let's hold down the Alt key. Let's go to our brush tool. So back to the brush tool. Our Alt key, made the selection. This time I'm going to bring the opacity. So your opacity is up here. I'm going to bring that right the way up to 75, around that area. Change our brush shape. Necessarily the shape, the size. Hardness I'm going to bring up a lot to say. Actually, let's keep the hardness down because we've got our solid edges selected with our marquee tool. Then it's not going to burn out. It's not going to blur out of those the edge of that selection by more than a pixel because we've got our feather radius of 1 pixel. So we can go ahead and start coloring once we've made a selection of a different color. So let's hit that. Alright, so let's warm this up slightly. Nice, let's make it a dark variation of blue. So we've added a touch more blue into it, which we can see our original color in the bottom of the square and the new color in the top section. So current, new. And draw that across slightly. Okay, I'm gonna hit OK. We're happy with that, and then we're gonna go in and color. So let's select and deselect. Alright, so as you can see, our selection which we previously made has made our shadow being cast there very solid, very strong cast shadow. Alright, so because this is a more reflective material, as I said, it will reflect the darker areas in a more solid way. Let's bring in the scarf which I created earlier. So let's hide the new layer. So as you can see here, we've done our solid areas, and then that will be even more emphasized when we add our light areas later on. What we can do in this tutorial, which is unique, is I can then just show you and maybe talk through what I've done for the other layers. So let's see what other layers we've got. Right, so the stars, the dark part of the stars, very subtle change, but then nonetheless on the shield. So on the wood of the shield, let's bring that dark area in. You can see it really helped to emphasize the texture. The center of the shield, dark areas, so I've even put a bit of blue where it's reflecting the blue from the top. Let's look at the top itself. So remember the top, because it is a less reflective material than the headscarf, it's the way that we've rendered it is we've used a mix of both the solid edge and a more airbrushy kind of feel, softer edge brush to create the texture on the top. Let's bring in darker areas of the shield. So again, let's hide that and bring it back. We've got reflections. We've got the blue reflection from the top and the red reflection coming from leg. I believe that was a darker area for the lips. No, the lips and the eyes. Alright, so we've got the darker area on the lips again because the lipstick will be very reflective. We've got a very solid edge on the areas of the lips there. Alright, so that is how we add darker areas to our image. So I'll catch you guys for the next tutorial. If you guys got any questions, because I feel like I've kind of rushed through this one, so you might have missed some stuff or you might not be clear on anything, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. Don't try and get rude because I will attack. No, I'm joking. Alright, so yeah, leave a comment and let me know what you guys think, and tune in, stay tuned. Don't just think outside the box, solve for it. A stupid little reminder, mess up my little catchphrase. Alright, so I'll catch you guys for the next one. See ya.